Hello, good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. Coming to you guys today to chat with you guys about a subject that I have been sitting on for a very long time, but I felt like this is a perfect opportunity to introduce the subject matter that I would like to chat with all of you guys about. This idea came to me probably September 20th, September 21st, right around the spring equinox. No, I'm sorry, the fall equinox. Um, which means I've been sitting on it and sitting on it and sitting on it because I felt like there were other subjects to talk about, or my inner self wanted to talk about, which is what you guys seen in the last couple of weeks is all these other subjects coming out of my mind, out of my spirit. And today, I feel like, no, I know, with all the events happening last week with the US election and the result of that, and feeling people's energy, and people were giving me, how do I say, their opinion about how they felt about it and what they're going to think about in the future with it. And, people are doing all of these things like already projecting the future, already thinking about places to move, or people are doing these physical 3D reality shopping sprees. And with all that being said, it draw me to the subject matter and look back through my journal and see what I was writing at the time about this episode, which has completely changed because I had so much to say, so much to review that when I did the review, I was just like, whatever I wrote about a month ago is not it's not resonating with me now. So I came up with something completely new this week because of all those reasons I just mentioned to all of you guys out there about what drove me to this episode. And before I start in on episode 9, as I want to remind everyone, we're in a really big cosmic shift. If you guys think about like a tsunami, that's how big it is. To finish out this year, there's a lot going on. This today, I think yesterday, but mainly today, is the first official day of the angelic portal, which is 1111. And what do I mean by that is it's November 11th. November is the 11th month in our Julian calendar, and today is also the 11th day in that calendar. So that's four numbers, 41111. That means the angelic portal is open. So for all of you who are mentally there, or you have evolved yourself into evolution, now is the time to make those wishes. Now is the time to put the wish list together, write it down, say it out loud, talk to your spiritual guides, pray to God. This is the time you guys get to talk with the spiritual realm. So I encourage all of you guys to make that list and start praying and throwing it out there into the universe. Because right now, like I said, guys, the portal between this physical world and the spiritual world is open. And if we open our minds or our crown chakra to the spiritual realm, a lot of those things, if you guys believe it enough, it will come true. You can manifest it. So that's one part of the wave that we're talking about. A second part of this wave is we're still in Scorpio season, which is still a time of change. So that's another layer in this wave. And the third wave is the full moon or the Taurus moon, which is coming up on Friday. So this is what I mean by, guys, this is a huge cosmic wave, a huge cosmic shift. I don't want anyone to be left behind. I know there's going to be some people because that's the way and the nature of this physical world is, but I want to help as many people to get your cosmic surfboards out. Get your body on top of that thing, make your wish list, and when the time is right, you can get out there and surf the waves without any effort. Everything that you manifested will come true. And beyond the Taurus moon, we have the Beaver moon, which is what they call it in the Farmer's Almanac, which is the last full moon before we start our winter solstice. So, that's another concept, like the crescendo of the wave. That's another concept I want to remind you guys about. So once again, guys, You do have time. This portal is staying open for a long time because the full moon is coming on Friday. It's extending the portal so you guys can, if you miss the angelic portal, you can at least pick up on the full moon energy, and it will carry us through till at least next week, I believe, Sunday or next Monday. And then before I get too far into the episode, I'd like to come back into the three-dimensional world and wish all of the veterans out there, thank you for all that you've done for this country. Thank you for all of you guys' dedicated support. And I'm talking about veterans, active military, retired military. If you guys are out there and watching, thank you for all that you guys do. You guys, in my opinion, are the true heroes of this country. You guys make this country survive. You guys really make this country do what it does. I know the politicians always think that they're the ones, but it's really you guys out there doing the heavy lifting out there, so to say. So once again, veterans out there, thank you for all that you do. And let's get into my episode, which is, I can't believe this, episode 9. I have been waiting for episode 9. I think I told you guys, if you've been with me since the beginning, if I got to episode 3, everything else is golden. But to me, that's still true. But episode 9 is another magic number within the universe. And it's just really just telling me that this is going to be a solidified podcast. If I just keep believing in myself and sharing all my information in here through all of you guys, through the sound of my voice. So just want to say, guys, if you've been with me from the beginning, or maybe those of you just picking up with me, thank you for always being there and listening and paying attention. And let's get into the episode, which is going to be called episode 9, which is going to be titled Spiro, Ergo, Prospero, which translates into I breathe, therefore I prosper, which is essentially the foundational block within the Art of Contemplation, which is a book written by Richard Rudd, to show you guys that. And I had some time, because I was reading this while I was at work. I had some time to color that lovely mandala that he had in his top page of his book. Not only did it, relax me mentally, but I wanted to have a color mandala, because this was right on the cusp of the mandala workshop I had in my yoga studio. But that is the initial saying of this whole entire episode. I breathe, therefore I am prosperous. And that is the message I want to convey over to all of you guys, is when you are consciously breathing, you are appreciative that you have the capacity to breathe in and out. You are already prosperous. You don't need any other validation besides that to exist in this physical world. You are alive. You have a physical body, and it's time to appreciate that gift you have, because there's a lot of people out there who are on machines, respirators, or some human beings never have the chance to take an air because they were stillborn or something else happened. So for those of us who have the ability to breathe, contemplation really hammers home the appreciation of what this is. And before I get back into breathing and breath, I want to say the introduction to this episode is, I am only a guide. I'm offering you guys a gentler path in your walk of life. Meaning that this episode is me. As you can see, I'm wearing yellow today. I'm the caution sign. I feel like I'm the caution sign to say, you can go two ways here. You can continue down the 3D realm, and you know where that leads it to. You know where that leads to. Or I could say, how about you go to the 5-dimensional world, see how you like that path. So I'm kind of that, not that conduit, kind of that guide that tell you, Don't go this way. Try that way. And I think you have a better path or a more gentler path if you try this way. And if you guys remember my first episode, I talked about Now Voyager, the movie with Betty Davis in 1942. I feel like Dr. Jackworth, because that's the way Dr. Jackworth explained what he did with Charlotte. The reason why she trusted him is he told her, humans come to, or there's lost beings who come to this fork in the road that splits off like this. And he was saying, I'm that guy to say, don't go this way, try that way. And that's what I remembered when I was putting this episode together, is being that cautionary sign to hopefully open you guys' minds to that there is a gentler path, there is a sweeter path to take in this life. It may not be that linear path that they've been teaching us for all these years, but it's a gentler path, and you have a better, more fulfilled experience on that gentler path. And like I said, this is just an offering, and I'm empowering you guys as cosmic missionaries and just as a light being yourself. You have the power to say yes or no to this material, which is completely up to you. I don't mind. We all have our belief systems. So once again, guys, if this resonates with you, I definitely recommend buying the book. As you can see, guys, it's thin. It's really not that big of a book. You can probably, and Richard says this too in the book, you can probably get through the book in one afternoon. But if you are rushing to get to the end of his book, you're gonna miss a lot of concepts. But I feel if you guys saunter, as Richard says, linger, simmer, take your time getting through what he has to say, getting through the book's material, it will all make sense. And I've reread this thing at least 4 times, and I find something new every single time I read this book. So those of you who want to get a real full view of what he's talking about, what I'm talking about today, buy the book. It's on Amazon. I'm sure there's on other bookstores, but it's a great book, probably about 95 pages altogether. So start at the introduction and go all the way to the end, and you'll find the gentler path. And like I said, I've sat on this episode for the longest time, but I feel like now with all the chaos in the world and, like I said, the election, it's time to tell people about contemplation and let you guys know how I landed on contemplation. So without further ado, guys, I'd like to kick off this episode. And I want to bring a little bit of my singing bowl magic into the episode, and then also demonstrate to you guys how breath, as I'm breathing right now, is so crucial and so important. And let's do it. Let's get this episode going. I breathe, therefore I prosper, is what we're talking about today. And I'll just start off by saying, like I said, this is the cornerstone of the art of contemplation, is realizing the breath is very important. And just a question that came up in mind when I was putting this episode together is, what does that mean? I breathe, therefore I prosper. And the answer to that is, to be alive is to prosper. You out there, me here, existing is enough, and that's what I essentially want to get across to my listeners today. Is you existing is enough. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone. You don't have to outwardly show that you're worthy to be here. The fact that you're here in this existence, in this body, is proof enough that you are special, proof enough that you are supposed to be here. This is not a mere accident. I think I talked about this in my previous episodes. When I feel all of you can evolve your minds into just appreciating just physically existing is enough, all these other harsher deadlines we put on ourselves, I feel it's gonna just dissolve and melt away once you guys, like I said, just realize existence is the prosperity, existence is the wealth. That is what I'm trying to talk about. And the deeper that we do breathe, the reason why for all the yogis out there, they ask us to do all this breath work is because the deeper we breathe, the freer our bodies, the freer our minds become when you start digging deep into your lungs and breathing in and out. That is really one of I feel is one of the main principles in yoga is breath work. And for those of you guys who are starting yoga, or maybe you guys are into yoga, like I said before, the yoga, the mental meditation comes from here. So that's why there's always breath per movement in yoga. Is when you breathe and you're conscious of it, you can invite breath into the body and then release whatever doesn't resonate with you anymore. So that's one of the things I feel is a part of yoga. And then getting back into, like I said, the episode, realizing your existence is a prosperity. That's what I really want to try to convey over to you guys. Existing is prosperous. Existing is wealth. Existing is the prosperity. You don't have to go into the physical world to obtain all that stuff. It's already within you. And when you guys start to evolve and realize that everything you're ever going to need in this life exists within this shell of a body. Your inner being is the source. This is just the shell to have that physical experience. But ultimately, guys, your inner being is the wealth. Your inner being is the wisdom. Your inner being is the consciousness driving you. So I feel, why are we ignoring the inner being if you guys haven't woken up to it yet? And on my journey with contemplation and just in general, letting go of Al has been the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. And I've talked with my sister about the art of letting go, because we were talking about how in the Matrix, when Morpheus and Neo were back in the real world after Neo just failed his jump simulation. And Morpheus was just like, I'm afraid it took us too long to free your mind. And I don't want to say it's right, but there is a time where you're going to start fighting your inner being, because you want to still dominate this life experience instead of just letting the higher self kind of be the driver for once, and you take the back seat, or you take the passenger side seat, and then let your inner being be in the driver's seat for once and control it. So once again, guys, that's been my hardest thing I had to do is let go of Al. And I'm still letting go of Al. There's still things that I got to let go of. And I wrote it down today in my journal, actually, this morning, of all my wishes that I'm going to talk to my spiritual guides about today and tomorrow. There's a lot of things of letting go of Al, or letting Al die so that my inner being can come forward. So there's a lot going on with that. And then I want to also say that breath is equivalent to freedom. I think we talked about that just a few minutes ago. Breath is freedom. Breath is the essential of life. It keeps you alive besides your consciousness. So I really encourage you guys to go about your day, go about your life. The deeper you breathe, the freer you're going to feel, not only in your mind, but the freer you're going to feel in your body. And you're going to really appreciate this life that you've been given, and try to figure out the assignment you've been given as well. We often forget what we're supposed to be doing down here once we get into this physical ego, and we push our higher self to the side and forget what our higher self wanted to do. So like I said, guys, breathe, take a pause in your day, and I think it would go really well with all of you guys. And with all that being said, you guys are probably wondering, what is contemplation? Contemplation, it is an interesting thing to talk about. And it took me a while to compound what that meant so it makes sense for everybody. And what I drew out of Richard's book is contemplation engages the power of the mind, your emotions, and then also the body. So that's all three things: the mind, emotions, and then the body, which is all, like in a trinity. Remember, I talked about guys 3, 6, and 9. There's always a trinity in everything. So those are the things that contemplation engages, and to give you guys the empowerment to engage those three things together. But contemplation also fuses and uses all three of those energies and brings an increased state of self-awareness to the being, to yourself. That is essentially what contemplation is bringing about a greater self-awareness. It also brings about a greater freedom and general prosperity on your journey of contemplation. So when I was starting my journey with contemplation, I thought I had what's it called, a self-awareness, but I was just in my top, not toddler. I was in a what's it called, a baby steps with my awareness, and contemplation graduated me into a different state of mind. So that's why contemplation for me has been so transformative, is because I was really came into this existence and appreciate this existence, and I looked at life a lot sweeter. And it took me from being such a doer to just sometimes taking a pause and just observing my life and observing what's happening around me and appreciating that physical existence. I believe when I was talking about my night swim in Cancun, that was me being in a contemplative state of mind, is that I was just taking a pause in the ocean and just looking around my surroundings, and I just couldn't believe where I wound up. So that's where contemplation has led me. And then I also want to continue on with contemplation and what that means. Contemplation is also a way to turn your energies inward and make your life a centrifugal experiment. In order for this to happen, one has to discover this experiment and then embrace your true higher purpose in life. And I had to look at contrafugal. I didn't before. But the definition of contrafugal is moving or acting in a direction away from a center or an axis. So what that came to me is, as we're moving through life, I feel we need to move spiritually in all directions. And when I read that sentence, like I said in the movie, what's it called? Under the Tuscan Sun, when they were talking about always living spiritually, this is what brought me back to that movie, and it kind of validated how I've always been living, but it really made more sense to me what living spiritually always is, and this is what that means: living a contrafugal life, meaning I'm spinning in all directions, I'm moving away from the core a little bit, and having fun with this life, and moving more fluidly, getting out of that rigid way of thinking in the Western world, and just living a little more spiritually and moving away from that center a little bit. So that's what I mean by how contemplation has really changed my life. And it's just been transformative ever since I discovered what contemplation is. And I'm just going to continue on with explaining contemplation. And there's a part in the book where Richard is talking about the great religions, or religious practices of the world. And he broke down the word contemplation, which is Contemplation. Now, over the years, our modern English has done a lot of, transforming into how we talk today. But a long time ago, it wasn't all that stuff. And so he was just breaking down the word contemplation, which is, let's think about it. The prefix of the word is con, con. And this is all Latin, guys. This is not modern English. Con is meaning with. And then the Latin root of temple is templum. And the word translates to within temple or with temple. So if we say it all together, contemplation is within your temple. Meaning, and I think I talked about this before, if this is the vessel, this physical body is your vessel, this mind of yours, this consciousness of yours is the temple. It's your inner sacred space or your inner sanctum. For those of you guys remember, in a lot of ancient traditions, especially let's say in Egypt, let's say the Temple of Luxor, for instance. If you guys ever watched any of those documentaries about the Temple of Luxor, there's outer temples, and then there's outer temples, there's inner temples, inner temples, inner temples, and then the holiest of holies, which is where the gods normally rest. And that's how I was thinking about this as I was reading Richard's book, is reminding myself of how these things physically look in this physical realm. Is if you can think about it, inner rooms, inner room, inner room, inner room, and then you get to the last room. That's the sacred part. That is the most holy of holies. That's, I feel, how we need to treat our consciousness. When you guys start thinking about this is the holy of holies, it takes on a different context of how you access yourself. And you're supposed to protect yourself and treat it with kindness and respect. And the way Richard was talking about this respect is, for those of us who've been through, let's say, a Hindu temple or maybe a synagogue or another religion that has an inner sacred space where people pray. When you first come into the temple, there's always like this little room where you either wash your feet, wash your hands, take your shoes off, or you take off the outside stuff that you have on before you enter into the sacred space of cleanliness and holiness. And Richard was asking the reader, why have you not been respecting yourself the same way? And he was telling the reader that currently in our Western society especially, we're not taught to respect ourselves like that. We're not taught to think about our inner consciousness as this holy of holies. We say it in the Bible, or people say it in church, but we really don't explain what that means. And for me, this explained what that meant. So Richard was saying in the book, why are we coming into our temples with dirty clothes, worn out shoes from the Matrix world? Is filthy, your hands are filthy, you're just tracking everything in and out of your own special temple. And he was just asking the reader, why are you doing that? When in the physical realm, you do all these other things in the physical world, and why aren't you doing this in the spiritual world? Why aren't you doing this in your mind and treating this with respect for once? And he was just saying how in this culture we have neglected our temples. And it's a mess in there. And, Richard was just, and to me, the way I interpret it is, we have to clean our temples out. It's time for us to reorganize our temples. And it's time for us to start setting boundaries for when we do access our minds, when we do access our temples again, we're clean. Where our hands are clean, our feet are washed, we're in different clothes, we're not bringing all that, physical outside matrix filth into our inner sanctums back there. So, and that's what he was trying to tell the reader is, put some boundaries, put some rules in place, and then you can start accessing your mind. And you guys are probably wondering, well, how the heck do I clean myself? And I would tell you guys that's through meditation and contemplation. Bridging these two activities together, contemplation and meditation, is the bridge, or that little room like we talked about, where you clean yourself and you could purge yourself, and then now you can access your mind. So contemplation is the cleaning mechanism. Meditation is actually the prayers. Meditation is the inner sanctum where you can access yourself. So this is why I feel it's so important to talk about this episode, is because contemplation, meditation go hand in hand. So when you guys are taking your pauses, taking your deep breaths, you are cleansing your vessel, you're cleansing yourself out. You are shutting down the anxiety, you're shutting down the sadness, you're shutting down any expectations, you're shutting down any goals. You are taking and shedding all that off of you. That's the outside matrix filth I'm talking about. So when you guys stop thinking about all that stuff, now your mind is clear, it's open, you're breathing. Now you can walk into your consciousness, and now you can start accessing your consciousness with a clear, clean slate. And that's how I took this material as I was reading it, is contemplation is a cleaning mechanism. Meditation is how you access your inner sanctum. So I want you guys to try to think about that, or maybe try to make it make sense. In a way, it made sense to me to do that. And like I said, guys, try to start doing this contemplation on a daily basis, and I feel it would take you guys really far with how things are supposed to go. And we're going to continue on with what the art of contemplation does. This art form leads the dreamer to a state of prosperity. What does this mean? Like I said, Spiro, Ergo, Prospero. To believe, to be alive is to prosper. And when you guys believe that, when you tell yourself that, and then you finally believe it, you will finally set your mind free. You will finally break those chains, and now you can fly. You can be a butterfly, like Mariah Carey said, spread my wings and fly like a butterfly. That's essentially what contemplation is breaking those chains, breaking out of that cocoon, sprouting your wings, and using the air and flying forward or flying up. And that's what I want you guys to take away from this episode is, being alive is to prosper, and you don't need anything else besides that thought to be prosperous and wealthy in this life. And I was putting this episode together, I was thinking about this, how, we've been raised and to think that attaining physical wealth is the most important thing. And through my spiritual journey, I found out it's not. Spiritual wealth is what we should be building. What do I mean by that? Physical stuff, like, for instance, this apartment I have, this computer that I have, this table that I have, the bike that I have, the Jeep I have out front that I have, money that I do have. All of that stuff I cannot take with me. And I spent 44 years trying and hustling, clawing and scratching to obtain things, buying a house and getting a better car. All this other stuff I don't want to say it's not important, but it really shouldn't matter. I feel like I would like to tell you guys to do is evolve yourselves into the spiritual wealth. What do I mean by that? That's one, getting to know yourself. Two, finding out your purpose. And three is treating others with kindness and treating yourself with kindness. Because, guys, when all that physical stuff melts away, or you're at the end of your time frame in this physical world, you can't take it with you. Guess who does go with you in the spiritual realm? Your inner being. So why are we so focused on getting physical wealth when we can start spending our time in the spiritual realm and building our wealth that way, and getting to know ourselves and recognizing that the Great Spirit or God. So these are all just food for thought as you guys go forward after this episode. And I want to move on and also say this, that believing prosperity, to be alive is to be prosperous, also breaks the mental chains. And like I said, guys, once we realize that, it's going to stop harsh emotions. It's going to stop those life deadlines by saying, oh, I'm at this certain age, I'm supposed to be doing this. None of that. That doesn't exist anymore when you remember to be alive is to prosper. It lets go of the ego, your physical ego. I talked about this in the beginning of this episode. I'm still letting go of Al. That is where I'm at with this. I'm still letting go of Al. You let go of unworthiness. You let go of desires for physical wealth, meaning having the biggest and latest thing. It won't matter after a while when you guys remember to be alive as a prosper. Another thing that I was thinking about is comparing yourself to other people. That's gonna stop when you realize that you're already prosperous. Um, it stops that linear Western timeline of those tick marks that you guys see. Like at 20 you do this, at 30 you do this, at 40 you do this, at 50 you do that. That doesn't exist when you know that to be alive is a prosper. It also lets go of jealousy, which means you stop being jealous of other people because, once again, guys, you are aware that you are breathing today, meaning that you are prosperous. You won't have to be jealous of anyone ever again. And then also it lets go of perfection, meaning always driving, always moving, always trying to get the next best thing, always trying to get the next best job. That's It should cease after you guys realize, once again, to be alive is to prosper. And then once again, a last thing I thought about this is fear. It lets go of fear finally. Again, guys, prosperity, you're here. This is the sweet dream. This is the life you're supposed to be living. So once again, guys, believe that you are prosperous, believe that you are wealthy right now, and it will take you far in this existence and this life if you guys do that. And I also want to say how it helped me. Um, it helped me to stop the deadlines in life. Last year, I was still trying to, obtain a degree from college because I think I told you guys I had started and stopped college so many times over the years. I was still pretty much trying to still do that. And contemplation helped me to just realize, I'm a prosperous person with or without the degree. Now, if I choose to go back to school and get the degree, that's totally on me. But as of right now, I took that deadline away from myself. So we're no longer in that state of mind. And then also buying a house got ticked off the timeline with this. I stopped clawing and, like I said, scratching at future endeavors that may or may not be what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's another thing I had to let go of with contemplation. And then it stopped me looking far into the future. I think I talked about in the beginning of this episode is I was always looking to the future. What am I going to do next? And the contemplation just stopped all that stuff from happening in my mind. I just had to stop, come back into the present, and live in the present. And we'll just figure out the future later. And like I said, it helped me bridge the gap of being my current self and my future self. And I want to talk about that in a little bit. And I want to say that contemplation also increased my capacity for joy and love again. And I'm going to tell you guys this. This is something I haven't shared with a lot of people. There was a time I didn't believe in love. Like after my last relationship 14 years ago, I didn't want another boyfriend. I didn't want love. I didn't even want love from my own family, from friends either. I kept everybody at a distance. So with that being said, I lost love for myself. My body wasn't functioning right. I had high blood pressure. Stomach wasn't always right sometimes. I couldn't lift the way I'm lifting now. I couldn't do handstands and all that arm chin stand stuff I'm doing now in yoga. So I'm just saying without the love being present in my life, I wasn't able to do all these other things in the physical body. And I had to bring or reintroduce love back into my life. And that is what it's still a challenge today because I love myself. I love my friends. But getting across that other hurdle of relationship, we're going to deal with that. But, like I said, going from no love to having love, all because of contemplation, that is really how I fell back in love with myself this year. And what else do I want to say? Oh, this is an important diagram. Like I talked about, contemplation helped me to Bridge the gap between current self and ideal self. And I'll show you guys a graph because I wrote it out. This is, yeah, that is what I mean is if this graph is the current self, this is where you currently are right now in life. This is your ideal self. This squiggly part is contemplation. This squiggly part is happiness. And what I mean by that, contemplation brings about joy and happiness into the present. So you're not always constantly thinking about the future and you're not thinking about the past. All you're doing is bringing joy, love, and happiness to the present. And guess what, guys? Like I said, magic happens and you get drawn into when your future becomes brighter when you're only thinking about what's happening in the present state. So once you guys are in gratitude for your life, that fills the gap of that gap between your ideal self and your current self. And that's the biggest thing I took away from contemplation is that diagram of the shaded part that showed you guys. That's the gratitude. That's what you should be doing every day is thanking yourself for being here and thanking yourself for existing, and it will take you guys a long ways. And another technique within the contemplation is pausing. That means taking time to pause your day. Meaning, okay, I'll say this. One of the first Hermetic teachings is, no, one of the second or third Hermetic teachings, everything's in motion, which it is. Everything vibrates, everything gives off some type of motion. But think about it, guys. When you're let's say you're out in nature taking a walk. Let's say the wind is blowing, it's rustling through the trees. You can hear the wind, you can feel the wind across your skin. What happens? Sometimes there's a pause in that motion and then it comes back. And what Richard was trying to tell the reader was, you can do the same thing in your life. Although your life is busy and is moving all the time, you can still take the time and effort to just breathe in and out, take a pause, and it will go a long ways if you guys can do that. And so that's what I've been doing a lot in my life last year is taking a pause in my day has helped me a lot especially when I fly, when people are coming to me with all this chaos and they're fidgety and they're anxious. I'm like, sweetie, stop. Take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. What can we deal with now? And that's how I go and deal with my work now, is telling people and telling myself, it's okay. Don't be afraid. We can only deal with what's happening right now. And that's what contemplation has done for me, is using that pausing technique to effectively keep a calm mind, keep a steady breath, and then also initially stop being so anxious all the time. I'm just living in the present moment. And another part of contemplation is emotions, which is pivoting. That's another concept within contemplation. And then merging, which is the physical body. Merging is simply just taking the pausing and pivoting and putting it together, which means you're just downloading everything into the body for once. And so that's what initially those three techniques are doing. And then also pauses. The reason why I come back to pausing is because it's the simplest one of all three of them. And you can simply just enjoy the pauses. That's what I'm trying to say is when you pause, you can enjoy the sweetness of life. You can enjoy your surroundings around you. You can literally smell the roses, as they always used to tell us in life is, and that's, like I said, this is what pausing does. It brings about that sweetness. It brings about that gratitude. It's always gratitude of being appreciative of what's happening right now in your life. And that is the biggest thing I had to take away from this episode is just being gracious all the time. And that's what pausing will do for you guys. And as I was reading this, I had a memory about when I was reading about pausing. Just so happened that day I was reading this pausing chapter in Richard's book. The wind was blowing. It was still early September, right before the equinox. It was still summer. I was in Indianapolis. I was outside reading one morning, and lo and behold, the wind was blowing. And as the wind is blowing, I felt the pause. I actually did. I'm like, oh, there's a pause. And then I just sat back from the book and I noticed that. And then I continued the book. And then lo and behold, this dragonfly, because he talks about how insects take the same pauses in life. And the insect literally came to my left at 9 o'clock where I was sitting at a table. And it landed on the rim of the chair. And then it just sat there. Its wings were tucked, how they normally do. And it just sat there. I closed my book. It looked at me. I looked at it. And we just vibed on each other. And then I opened the book and it flew away. So even at an instance, I can still find pauses. And like I said, the universe in that moment just showed me how insects really pause, hang on. I was trying to avoid this from happening, but it's happening. All right, just had to turn some light on. It was getting a little dark. Um, yeah, once again, guys, like I said, insects do it, animals do it. We're the only one of the few species who don't take pauses. And Richard was telling the reader that it's time to start taking pauses in your life, in nature, because everything pauses, everything has a pause. And he was really encouraging the reader to evoke those pauses and try to bring that into their lives every day, not just every now and then, but he was just telling everyone to channel it every day, and it will go pretty far. Hang on, it's dry today. And also, contemplation and pauses, um, like I said, it brings about life's sweet blessings. That's another thing I want to talk to you guys about. And the reason why is pausing is one of the easiest things to do is because when you pause, like I said before, you can enjoy this life a little sweeter. You can enjoy what you have. You won't have to worry about clamoring for more stuff. It's already within inside you. And let's see. Yeah, it's just a gentler path, guys. When you think about pausing. Let's see. I think that's pretty much I want to talk about with contemplation and pausing. Well, pausing, not contemplation. We still have more to talk about contemplation. But pausing, that's pretty much what I want to tell you guys is it helps you with gratitude. It helps you stay in gratitude. It fills the gap between your current self, ideal self. You won't have to put pressure on yourself to get to that ideal self. You can take your happiness, you can take your gratitude now, instill it, fill in the happiness and gap, and I guarantee you guys your future would be a lot brighter once you stop obsessing over the future and come back to the present. And that's what pausing and contemplation does. It brings you back into your present mind, present state of being. Be gracious for it, and then now the universe is going to reward you with something greater and better than you could ever think of. And contemplation for me has also helped me let go of the I should have, could have, and would have in life. And contemplation kept me, the dreamer, in the present, like I talked about. Instead of always focusing on, oh, I should have did that, or I could have did that, or I would have done that. Contemplation just lets all that stuff dissolve. You stop thinking about it because you're only thinking about the present moment. And I also want to say one more thing about pausing is the easiest way to clear your space in your temple and your physical space. Meaning you can take a pause at any time of the day. And also pausing releases any anxieties, guys. So if you feel you're an anxious person, this tool, this technique of pausing is literally going to stop all that. Because like I said, it Just taking deep breaths, maybe three. That just brings fresh air into your consciousness and it just stops you from thinking so much. And you can say, okay, self, time to stop. We're doing too much. And, let's come back into the present. So that's what this has done for me as well. And let me see what else I could talk to you guys about. Um, oh, yes. Let's talk about living. We haven't talked about that yet. So, I believe I mentioned this in a few moments ago during this episode. The linear progression of life. There's tick marks in the Western world, right, guys? You start with your beginning as a newborn, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, if we're lucky, maybe 80. And there's tick marks or hurdles, as I call them. And, the way I was trying to put this together was we often have these hurdles and we're running a race. That's what I'm trying to say. In the Western world, they want us to believe we are running this race of life and we don't have a lot of time to do it. So what do they impose on us? By this age, you have to do this. By this age, you have to do that. You got to. And where does this end up? It makes us stressed out. It makes us feel unworthy. It makes us feel, what else? We can't obtain a goal. We can't achieve something. Maybe someone else has got that hurdle before you. Now you're comparing yourself to them or you're feeling bad. It's a host of things that come up in our lives because of this linear progression in life. And I'm just going to show you guys how this kind of tunes our. Yeah, there's a diagram. So you see what I'm talking about where I said we're born here, you race, you race, you race, you race, you race, then there's death. And the reason why I'm bringing up this analogy is when you're so focused on obtaining, you don't have time to look around. You don't give yourself the time, you don't give yourself the space to move around. And then what we're doing is essentially, that really just blacked me out. It's essentially just keeping us on this terrible path to where we're always comparing ourselves and we're always moving to the next hurdle and we're not taking the time to exist and be. And like I said, we have our blinders on and we're always focused on the future and we're not focusing on what is right in front of us. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about with this episode as well, is look around and start enjoying. And I wrote out another diagram of how contemplation path. And this is what I came up with as I was doing this episode. So you see life begins here. We squiggle down, we squiggle across, we keep going, we go up, we go down, we go sideways, we go forward, we go backwards. But if you guys look at this is like a beautiful wave of water. It's a beautiful wave of life. And what do I mean by life, guys? Like I was talking about before, life is always like water is moving. So if you're taking this gentler path in your life, there is going to be so much going on in your life. You're gonna be experiencing everything. You're gonna be curious about everyone and everything again. And that's what comes to contemplation is if you take a setback, okay, you feel it, and guess what, guys? You recover and you move forward. That is the beauty of art and contemplation is there's ebbs and flows, and instead of you swimming and clawing against the current, you just kind of say, okay, fine. Current of life is cool. I'm going to flow with it. And you go back. And then when the current stops, guess what, guys? You take that least path of resistance, you put your arm forward again, and you get back into swimming. You get back into your life again. And that's the beauty of contemplation. And that is a good analogy about in the water realm. Bring it onto land. I was thinking about the Sheryl Crow song. I think you guys probably heard it on my Instagram today and Facebook. Every day is a winding road, and this is how this came about. This theory of that's why I put the song forward. When you guys listen to my Instagram today, is every day is a winding road, which means you don't know what's around every corner. Why are we anticipating every turn and stuff? So that is what I mean by taking the windier road, and this is what contemplation has landed me on is when you take that winding path, you're able to slow down, be appreciative of what's happening around you, and you get to experience life. And I feel like, um, and Richard says this too, contemplation helps you to saunter. If you guys know what that means, that just means to walk a little slower in life. It helps you to gently move at your own pace. Take pauses, reflect, and pivot. And you, like I said, you start to gain more knowledge. You start to gain more physical life experience once we take that winding path because you get to love, you get to lose, you get to gain, you get to feel, you get to be happy, you get to be sad, you get to just flow with this life, flow with existence. And this is where contemplation will take you if you just allow to be conscious and allow contemplation take over. And like I said, it allows the dreamer to explore and enjoy life for once. Instead of, like I said, being in that linear Western way of thinking and you have to go from the next thing, the next thing, next thing, next thing. This makes you slow down. This helps you to slow down and appreciate life. And you get to live the dream as you want to. That is the beauty about contemplation. Once you're conscious about your existence, your prosperity, now you can dream as big as you want because you know this is your life. This is how you're supposed to be existing. And you can dream big however you want to do it. So, yeah, guys, I really encourage you guys to go forward with that. So, feel, explore, dream as big as you want. So by the time you guys do end your physical existence, because it is a choice to end it, no stone is unturned. You have felt and did everything a human being should probably do in this lifetime. So like I said, guys, dream big, live your sweetest dream, and life will become that dream for you. Life will become a sweet dream. Um, it won't be a nightmare anymore. And this is where contemplation has taken me, is helping me to believe in that. And just another side note about contemplation, guys, is like I said, I want you to walk away from this with knowing that everything you're ever going to need is within your vessel already, is within your life already. You, I encourage you guys not to think about that three-dimensional, low vibrational physical material. And like I said in the beginning of this episode, I just saw a video today where people were talking, they were talking about how Americans are going on shopping sprees and stocking up and buying cars and doing. You don't need to do all that stuff. What's going to carry you guys through to the next world? 'Cause I think I talked about this before. This cosmic shift is initially taking us into a five-dimensional world, meaning all this physical stuff is not going to be important anymore. Come next year, come the next couple of years. What's going to help all of us get through is making that vibrational change, coming into a 5D reality, and coming into a spiritual wealth, spiritual prosperity is what's going to carry us through. So I encourage all of you guys, like I said, ride the portal wave now of the cosmic energy. There's still time to upgrade yourself. There's still time to raise your vibrations, guys, because I hate to say it, and I know Dolores Cannon and many other people have said it. For those people who are not on this five-dimensional higher vibration, they're going to get left behind, guys. And this is what I'm trying to tell all of you guys today is with the use of contemplation, it will help you guys raise your vibration and it will carry you guys through to the next phase in this physical world, the next phase in this earth, because it's going to be a lot of change in the next couple of years, guys. And like I said, the only way to ride that wave, ride that surfboard, like I said, is to clean yourself out, raise your vibrations, and it's going to take all of us very far. And yeah, guys, just like I said, learn to live your life at your own pace with contemplation. So once again, guys, it's getting dark outside. Live spiritually. Be gentle to yourself. Saunter. Next time you guys find yourself rushing to the next, let's say for flying world, to the next gate, to your next, to your job, going to the coffee shop, going to a restaurant. Next time you guys feel yourself dashing off and rushing into that next activity, take a pause, take a moment and say, why am I rushing? Where am I going? Saunter. It's okay to relax. So next time you guys go forward in life, when you catch yourself running and rushing and being flustered, stop and right dead in your tracks, take a few deep breaths, and just saunter and walk to your next thing you have to do. And I feel that's going to take you guys far in life is with contemplation, is pausing. And like I said, guys, appreciating breathing, appreciating what breathing does for you, and coming into prosperity. I breathe, therefore I prosper. That is what I want you guys to do, and that's what I want you guys to believe as we're going forward after this episode. So once again, guys, thank you for paying attention. I believe I've talked enough. I'm going to continue on with my podcast. We're going to keep going. I have another episode to put together. Next week, we're going to talk about nutrition, taking care of the body. There's a lovely book I would like to introduce to all of you guys. So tune in for that one. And like I said, guys, raise your vibrations, come into positivity, live in positivity. I feel when you guys live in positivity, the rest will come. The rest will come really easy once you live in positivity and you stop focusing on all that future stuff. Come back into the present moment. Take a pause, take a chill, as we say down here in San Diego, chill out. And it's going to take you guys far. Once again, guys, if you'd like to check out the book of Art of Contemplation by Richard Rudd, it's on Amazon. Check it out. Always, as always, guys, thank you for paying attention. Be curious about yourself. Stay curious about yourself. Be curious, be curious, be curious, and live spiritually in all directions as always, cosmic missionaries. And once again, guys, just remember, you are enough. You are breathing, you're existing, you are enough, you're prosperous enough. And go do something fun with your lives. That's what I want you guys to do. Go do something fun. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. And thank you so much, everyone.